Hello friends and welcome. Today I want to talk about a +1 MMR tip. Even though I think it's actually massively game changing, like hugely impactful, I think it's only hugely impactful at like pro level games or like coordinated team games. In a typical pub, this risk reward is probably not that worth it. But I thought it was super cool. I saw this at the Arlington Major. Maybe other people have done it and I just haven't noticed. But I want to share it with you. So you'll have a setup like this quite often, right? Where you have your observers and sentries on a cliff, and in the late game, mid game, and even kind of early game, people might be smoked up. Oops, I was too slow. There's a snapfire here, smoked up, right? If they ward like this, even though I have an observer and a sentry, we don't see the snapfire because she's smoked. But because I have vision and I have a sentry, I now see this observer pop out of nowhere, and that tells me, hey, someone is here, and they're not invis because invis breaks and we would see them from the sentry. This is a smoke. And you can solo smoke as a support, but depending on the context of the game, you kind of know when the enemy team is all together or not. And now you have the information, do I want to fight here or not? I know there are enemy heroes around here. Do we come engage or do we just avoid them? That is only possible because we have this observer and the sentry down. Without the observer, even though your sentry's here, you can't actually see them place observers or sentries when they're smoked here, so you're really clueless. You might know they're there, you might have a guess, but you don't have that definitive information as seeing like an observer pop out of nowhere. This is where you can actually leave your courier near the high ground, and I thought this was super cool because now when they put an observer down, you do have vision from the courier to see this. Even though you didn't put an observer here for whatever reason, maybe you didn't want one on the cliff, maybe you're out of observers, whatever the case may be, this is pretty consistent. You always have a courier. You may not have one for long because after they place like an observer or a sentry on the high ground, they're going to see that you have a courier here and they're going to kill it, and then you're going to be sad. I mean, they may not kill your courier. They might still try to like get away with being smoked, but both teams should know once this happens, they know you're here, right? We know they're here because our courier is here. And how does an observer suddenly pop out of nowhere? Someone placed it. Now, they might be smoked. They might not be smoked. The observer does not provide enough vision to know that. But this is enough vision for me to know that there are at least one enemy hero, but probably multiple enemy heroes at this area, and so then I can use that information how I want. Whether I go here or I avoid here, it's up to me. And the courier dying is sad, but it is much cheaper than losing a full-on team fight, which could be game-changing, right? So a courier is a small price to pay for that. Plus, in a pro game or with friends, you can be like, hey, I can't use a courier anymore. It's dead for 3 minutes. Bring me these observers and sentries. And then they like bring them out, they pass them to you, So with 5 couriers being in the game, it's not such a big deal to lose one courier doing this kind of trick. Here's an example of this in the Boom versus Liquid series. So they had an observer, Boom had an observer on this high ground. They're winning in this game, and they wanted to play around this really nice vision. You can see it helps them set up here to siege this mid tower, and it's bugged, but Roshan is about 2-3 minutes from respawning potentially. So they wanted to keep playing this area and keep control here. Visage comes up, kills their observer, they manage to pick off the sentry, and so they still have their sentry here, but their observer is gone. Now they do have another observer, so potentially they could have just placed one here. But I think in the goal of trying to keep their vision alive, they chose to end up placing it somewhere else. So this lane ward instead. However, this is still a good area to have information on for when the enemy moves through here. Because from Liquid's perspective, they have no idea if there's another observer here or not. Boom can choose to just put another observer here. Now, coming up with that Roche in mind, Liquid eventually needs to make a play. You can't just let them take Roche. So as you can see, they actually do end up smoking. And Tim's does this thing where he gets his observer, or he gets his courier delivered items, and then he puts his courier here. Now, this is really cool because from Boom's perspective, you have this lane ward and this lane ward, and you don't see anyone. And you have this tower being pushed in, and you still don't really see anyone. You see like an illusion, That should be suspicious. You kind of have them contained in their base and they're all missing. It means that they are grouped up at the least and potentially smoked if they're not being shown by your observer wards. So they're starting to be careful because they don't want to lose a fight and then lose Roshan and then suddenly their advantage is gone. Fighting around here would be kind of a big deal. There's a cliff, so there could be fantastic vision, and that could go both ways. It could go for Boom. If they had vision here, they could take potentially a very nice fight here. And in the same way, Liquid, if they want to smoke through here, they need to make sure Boom does not have vision, and they need to place their own vision, potentially, if this is where they think the fight's going to be, because they need as much as they can get, because they're kind of behind. They need good vision for a fight. So by putting his observer here, or his courier here, Liquid ends up smoking through here and placing a sentry, because they have to check here. There was an observer here before, and there might be another one. But once this happens, at this level of Dota, a support is unlikely to just blindly wander up here, right? Especially, how would they? Because there was none here. There was no like showing of a support here, and no showing of a support through the lane creeps. So unless a support barely managed to sneak through here, or Snapfire like jumped up here, there's no way a single support player got here, which means there's probably multiple heroes smoked up here that snuck past one of these vision sources. And that is now verified by the fact that a sentry suddenly appeared here, which means there's a hero here. This is going to cost him his courier, because Liquid at this point realizes, oh, we've been found. Like, we put the sentry here, they saw it, so now they kind of know we're grouped up. So let's at least claim the courier, you know, get some money from that, and that's why they kill it. But now Boom has all the information that they need. See, they ping it out. They're like, okay, get out of here, dodge it. They're all smoked there. Everyone, run away, avoid. And this is how they're going to avoid any fights they don't want, right? Because this could be a tough fight. This is like fighting into high ground. They have no vision here anymore, no sentries. So this is tough. They want to take a very clean fight to maintain their lead. So I think this is really cool. The courier is a small price to pay to guarantee, not guarantee like a good fight, but to give you information whether you're going to take a fight or not. You put the courier on the cliff like this. It doesn't really work on the low ground because like anyone could just randomly see it. It's particularly good on these cliff spots because the only way to really see up there is probably by putting a sentry or observer, or maybe a high ground spell, but probably the observers, especially when you're smoked. So that's why I thought this was super cool. I don't know if this will be that useful in our pub games just because it's kind of hard to coordinate this stuff, but I really liked it. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe he was just checking for an observer and left his courier there, but if so, it is accidentally really good for them. I do believe it was intentional. They pinged it out instantly, you know, so I think it was all part of the plan. And if not, it should be, because this was really helpful, right? They then dodged the team fight that they didn't want to take. So give it a shot if you want, if you play with friends or you play high enough rank that you think it will be useful to you. But for the average player, you probably don't really need this. That's all. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.